this episode, we are going to dive into the world of forgotten 80s fantasy toys. So, stick around. Hello, fellow dorks and dorkettes, and welcome to Nostalgia Syndrome. My name's Rob, and in this episode, we will be talking about forgotten 80s fantasy toys. Now, if you didn't catch the channel update news episode, this will be a new monthly installment to the channel. And I just don't mean fantasy toys, I mean forgotten toys in general. And I've broken them down by different genres, and fantasy being one of them. We'll also see things like army toys, which are reminiscent of G.I. Joe, and robots, and sci-fi, and girls' toys, and movies, and cartoons, just toys in general that have been forgotten through the sands of time. With that being said, I also want to add, like I usually do when I use the term forgotten, that these toys will not be forgotten to everybody. Because you need to realize that every toy out there has to be somebody's favorite somewhere. Someone has great memories of these toys, and I don't mean to blemish that at all by using the term forgotten. I mean, I'm just saying it because the general populace of nostalgia, toy collectors, what have you, these items are forgotten. And I just want them to have a light shone on them, and for us to all enjoy these wonderful relics of our childhood. And before we begin, and I'm sure I'll say this month after month, yes, a lot of these are generic, a lot of these are blatant homages, rip-offs if you will, of more popular toy lines, but that's just the name of the game. Everyone wants a slice of the pie of something successful. So, yes, my original idea for this series that I concocted probably a year ago was to deem these rip-off toys. And I just thought that that was way too negative. I hate being negative. I love being positive about these things we discuss. So, I just wanted to do away with that term altogether and just focus on the forgotten element of these toys. Anyway, all that being said, let's get to the list, shall we? Like I said, these are forgotten 80s fantasy toys. And number one on the list is the Guardians of the Planets. Released by a toy company that you probably have never heard of called Sparkle. Believe me, I hadn't heard of it either. In the year 1985. And yes, right off the bat, these are very reminiscent of Masters of the Universe, down to the name. A quick synopsis of this toy line is that the Earth galaxies, as they say, is being attacked by evil forces. So it's up to one man, Orion, and his group of fighters to thwart these evildoers coming into the Earth galaxy. All in all, there were 6 figures released, 3 good guys and 3 bad guys. You had the heroic good guys of Orion, Weapons Master, and Strong Arm. Then you had the 3 bad guys named Zardoom, Canis Major, and Quasar. I have to be honest, I really dig the designs of some of these toys. I mean, on the good guy side, you have the heroic Orion. That is very He-Man-esque with his blonde hair, sword, shield, and armored bandolier thing. And the dude Strong Arm, that is very Trapjaw-esque with his cybernetic arm. But the villains, that's where it gets great. I mean, the character Quasar, awesome. I mean, he's like a lizard man dude. He would fit right in with your Masters of the Universe figures. I mean, he could be him and Canis Major, who's an awesome dog-headed dude, could be, bounty hunters, that have come to Eternia to get He-Man or Man-at-Arms or something. I mean, the possibilities are limitless. These figures would fit perfectly in your Masters of the Universe in your living room. But on top of the action figures, they also had pretty cool mounts and beasts that some of the figures came packaged with. I mean, they really tried with these. I mean, you could get a 4-pack of 2 good guys, 2 bad guy, packs. You could get a pack with a figure and a creature in it. I mean, the mounts and the creatures are very Imperial Dragon-esque, if you know what I mean. Because Imperial Dragons, the company Imperial, I think a lot of people have fond memories of these very generic dragons because, you could find them practically anywhere in the 80s, and they fit into a myriad of any of your... I mean, you could have the Dragon attack G.I. Joe. You could definitely be Masters of the Universe. I mean, Transformers. I mean, an alien dragon. I mean, it all just fit into everybody's playtime universe. And these generic mounts and beasts just fit into that. And yeah, I have to say, discovering this toy line, I'm a big fan. And one day, I would love to look around, unfortunately on eBay, for some of them. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to be doing a sister episode to this like I do with some of my other shows. I'm just saying, for my own fun, I'd like to look into it. But anyway, that's Defenders of the Planet, and yeah, I'm a big fan. I have to say, sight, scene, I'm a big fan. So anyway, on to number 2. Number 2 on the list is Lord of the Insects. Released by Sun Gold in 1986, Lord of the Insects took great inspiration from Coleco's Sectors line. I have to interject real quick before we jump into Lord of the Insects. And I also have to apologize for the spin cycle, but we're in a laundry room, what do you expect? Anyway, I think that the toy industry as a whole expected so much out of the Sectors line. And unfortunately, it didn't. I mean, yeah, it was poised to be the next big thing. And I think a lot of people in the toy business, like I said, expected it to be the next big thing. Because on top of Lord of the Insects, there are a lot of other insect-inspired action figures that came out around the 85-86 time frame when Sectors were released. That being said, let's jump into Lord of the Insects. As I said, created by Sun Gold in 1986, Lord of the Insects only featured 4 action figures. And 2 good, 2 bad, and they all came packaged with a little rubber insect. Unfortunately, I mean, when you're talking about Coleco's Sectors with their bigger insects with action features, or even the mounts with the awesome puppet hands, the little rubber insects, yeah, weren't the same. But these are pretty cool. I mean, they're in that He-Man style, and I just like the faces, the bug eyes, they have hair, beards, and things like that. So they're like a mutant insect human thing. Now, the bad guys featured more prominent insect type of, facial features and things. And the good guys were more human-esque. I mean, they still had funky colored eyes, and I assume that they are part of the insect order of some capacity. Now, unfortunately, all of the packaging pictures I've seen online have been very blurry to read the story that's on the back of the package, but I assume it's probably an awesome story. Now, the thing that really gets me and why I went into the whole comparison is the colors of the good guys. The color scheme is very reminiscent of the Sectors toys because you had darker armored chest and a lot of them had white sleeves to their shirts, and these toys kind of emulate that. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with the whole emulation, homage, rip-off nature of these toys. that's just the name of the game. And yeah, I mean, these aren't as fancy as some of the other He-Man-esque figures that came out around this time, but they're pretty cool. And like I said, there were only 4 figures in total. They didn't have any other accessories or play sets or anything like that. So it was just the 4 of them and the light again. And they were the Lord of the Insects. So, like I said, I couldn't read the story on the back of the package, but I'm sure it was awesome. Number 3 on the list answers an age-old question we all have been wondering. What would it look like if Lion-O and Skeletor had a kid? And that would be Hair Bone, from the Flextron line, released by S&T Sales in 1984. Now, Flextron only had 2 figures. The Hairbone, which I mentioned, that is kind of a skeletal dude, and Vipin, who is kind of a vampire dude. Now, I don't know if they're good, they're evil, one's good, one's bad. I have no idea. What I do know is they share a action feature that was very rare for the action figure world, and that is being bendy. I mean, there were bendy toys everywhere, but there's only a few companies that ventured out into the action figure market of the bendy toy. This and the Other World, which we'll get to another day, and that's an awesome toy line, may I add. But this shared the same action feature that it did. The toys didn't have joints or articulation, they were just bendy. They had wire frame inside a rubber body, and you could do whatever you wanted with it. Now, the packaging says it comes with an armament, and I can see a shield, but I don't know if it came with a sword or axe or anything else, but it has a shield, and that's pretty cool. Now, oddly enough, Thundercats was released the following year, but when you look at Hairbone's hair, it's Lion-O's hair. I don't know how this happened. I don't know if LGN looked at Flextron and said, wow, that's a great action figure, we need to emulate it, or S&T Sales somehow got a look at the Thundercats toys before they hit the shelves. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, let's compare their hair side by side. It's an uncanny resemblance. It is shocking. But like I said, Thundercats came out the following year in 85, and Flextron came out in 84. So, yeah, we'll never know. It's a mystery. But, like I said, we had one question answered, what it would look like if Lion-O and Skeletor had a kid. So, we got that going for us. Now, number 4 on the list comes from a toy company that I mentioned earlier, Imperial. And this was released in 1983. This line was called Dragons, Knights, and Daggers. That's a sweet name. I mean, trying to cash in on the Dungeons and Dragons thing, but you went with 3 words, not just the 2, so props to you. Now, Imperial, like I said, was known for their great dragon figures. They were generic, they were everywhere, they were a fair price, they were awesome. Now, this toy line kind of does the same thing. These are different beasts, 4 in total, everything from a raging rhino to a stallion, and they're just generic enough that you could use them for your other toy lines. Like I said, in your living room playtime universe, these generic beasts of burden, mounts, what have you, would fit perfectly into almost any of them. Now, another cool thing that Imperial did with this toy line was release accessory packs with different weapons and armaments and things like that that would fit your Masters of the Universe figures, your Remco figures, your Lords of the Insects figures, what have you. Now, that is awesome. I know as a kid, I used to love getting the G.I. Joe weapons packs, and yeah, there were a lot of weapons included of figures I never was able to own, but having their guns and backpacks and stuff was the next best thing. This is awesome like that, because you could give different weapons to Man-at-Arms. You could equip Beastman with an awesome sword, instead of his bullwhip, what have you. So Imperial, they're masters of the generic game when it comes to just giving you great accessories and creatures and mounts that fit into any toy line in that living room universe that I mentioned. Now, number 5 on the list is one that I had to try to research as much as I can because it seemed like such a grandiose design from a very big toy company that didn't yield any results at all. And that is Battle Brawlers by Kenner in 1986. Now, like I said, I had to do a little bit of research on this just because it blows my mind that a big company like Kenner only released 2 toys within this line. Now, Battle Brawlers were awesome fantasy-inspired creatures, monsters, what have you, that had action features that kind of upped the whole Rock'em Sock'em robot game. You had a big dude that had like a bear hug attack, and you had another dude that had like a spiked tail whipping action. And you were to brawl with them. Battle Brawlers, as the name said. Now, they even produced a commercial for these toys, so let's take a look.
Now comes prehistoric power from the center of the earth. Battle Brawlers are here. Introducing Hammertail and Crackarm, each sold separately.
The giant Hammertail is loose in Paris.
There's no escape.
Now New York's in danger.
No one can stop me. I can. Hands off, Crackarm. Not before I put an end to this tail. You can only disarm one Battle Brawler with another.
Battle Brawlers, Hammertail and Crackarm, each sold separately. The new prehistoric collection from Kenner.
It looked like they put so much effort into these 2 figures. A commercial, awesome action features, an awesome look to them, and it didn't go anywhere. Like I said, I had to do some research because it just blew my mind that a company like Kenner I don't know. They tried but didn't try at the same time. It's just really odd. Now, the other things on this list, yeah, they make sense. These are small companies, so limited runs, and they did what they could with probably a very small budget. But someone like Kenner in '86, where they're still kind of coasting on Star Wars money, and I mean, the Ghostbusters toys are getting ready to come out, and they're probably really high on the horse at this moment. Yeah, this just really boggles my mind. I mean, only 2 figures, and that was it. And to produce a commercial. So, I wonder if they had bigger plans, and it just didn't go anywhere. Now, with the whole research thing, before we wrap up this episode, let me just say, it's been very hard to research a lot of these forgotten toys, because, yes, there's listings for them for sale here and there. There's action figure checklists that have them listed with very limited information. I mean, like I said, there's not whole pages devoted to the mythos of Defenders of the Planets or anything, unfortunately. So, I'm coming at you with the limited amount of info I have, with a lot of self-speculation and just my own awesome imagination of how I would have played with these toys. So anyway, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them, and I love getting back to everybody. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this or any of the episodes that YouTube is recommending down here, please hit subscribe. And if you hit that little bell icon, you will be notified whenever there's a new episode. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Keep being rad and stay dorky!